You can all join the palms and repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
Keeping the palms joined. Put palms down. All right, good morning, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you for showing up. Anyone here for the first time? Those of you here for the first time, welcome. What brings you here? Sorry to put you on the spot. You can pass if you want.
No, I'm just here just to experience new experiences and meet people.
Nice. Well, glad you're here. Welcome. Yeah. What else? First time here. Someone in the back who just ran out. Yeah.
Starting my journey into Buddhism.
Restarting.
Yeah.
Did you have it on pause for a
I
while?
had it on pause.
Do I dare ask for how long?
Well, I had to raise my son, so I'm back.
Well, that was your Buddhist practice, right? And you're still doing okay. Yeah. What do you think you missed the most or used the most from your Buddhist practice while raising your son?
I miss myself.
Yeah.
Just connection to just the spiritual part of myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, glad you're back. As much as I want to continue this, I'm going to stop. Yeah. Anyone else first time here? Those of you who show up, why show up? Yeah.
I love the simplicity and the repetition and the consistency, much to my surprise.
Yeah, consistency. Yeah, it's just we wake up each day, we have opportunities to practice each day, and we need reminders each day. I mean, that's for me what it comes down to. What else? Why show up? Yeah.
I feel peaceful just the minute I walk in here.
Mm.
I mean, it's been very constant.
Yeah. Feeling peaceful the minute you walk in, and it's been very constant. Yeah, it's wild how we condition ourselves to kind of have those feelings, certain places in certain ways. And the challenge, which is why it's a challenge, is to feel that way when we show up everywhere, and we don't. You know, if we felt that way everywhere, then places like this wouldn't need to exist. But they're here because very often we go into situations, we go into places, we go into environments where we don't feel that sense of peace or calm or stillness. And so it is a consistent daily practice to kind of come back to waking up to that peace that's within us. The outside things and places and people trigger us certain ways, but ultimately it's up to us how we respond. And again, that's why we call it a practice. Not easy. What else? Anyone else want to share why they show up? Yeah.
I find that it's a solace when I need it, and my ideal is for it to also be me being present to an energy and community of other people.
Mm-hmm.
But that's sort of the ideal, and I find that I come more when I need it as a solace than when things are amazing and I'm not doing other things.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many people, like, I won't see somebody for maybe 6 months, and then all of a sudden they show up. I'm like, you're not doing so well, are you? You know, the last 6 months were great, and then the relationship ended, they lost the job, whatever, you know, something happened, and they're like, oh no, now I need it, right? And as you, I'm just kind of paraphrasing what you just said, but as you shared, it's It's those times where we think we're just kind of sailing along and everything's fine that we want to continue to practice, because we know the days will come where it's not going to be smooth sailing, and relationships will end, jobs will get lost, moments in our lives will be difficult. We will be shattered in so many ways, and that's just constant. I mean, that's what we get. Most people who do show up here on a Saturday morning, 11 o'clock, have figured out that throughout your life, you're going to be shattered. And the practice is, when you are shattered, can you kind of put those pieces back together to where you're not shattered so poorly? But to continue to practice when things are like, yeah, things are good now. Daily practice. All right, so we'll start with the meditation. For those who are joining virtually, welcome. Glad you're here. Thanks for showing up. Feel free to say hello as you are. We got snow and cold in Denver and Vermont. And somebody shared, it feels like kindness towards myself. Yeah, it really is a very beautiful, generous practice we can give ourselves. So I appreciate you sharing. So a couple things to tell you for those who are maybe new to meditation. Nothing's going to happen to you, right? You're not going to float away. Not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice, meaning don't ask yourself, is this working or not working? Are you doing it right or wrong? We're just going to sit. We're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside the room, sounds outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos, and this practice is learning to get quiet and still within all of the chaos. Posture. You just want to be comfortable. If you're on a cushion, often it helps slide into the front third, pushing the stomach forward. Same thing if you're on a bench or chair, however you're seated, just trying to sit up straight. You're not there to kick back and fall asleep. So you want to be comfortable, but also kind of alert and at attention so you can work on training your mind. If you need to move during meditation, simply move. Hands can be on the knees or lap, whatever's comfortable. Most important for those who are brand new, you're not trying to shut your mind off. It won't stop racing. You're not going to think nothing. Your mind will continue to race. I'll say things periodically to remind you that you're lost in thought and bring you back to present moment. I'll guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. And starting with the eyes closed, if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. We'll start with gently guiding the attention, focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, feel them fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath, expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. And as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Breathing in. Follow breath in. Breathing out. Follow breath out. Letting go of expectations. Letting go of judgments from your practice. Just sitting. Breathing. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, and no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. Once again, taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly beginning to move. The most important with the practice of meditation is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. Ask yourselves how you'd prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said. Has nothing to do with how you sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's nothing to do with the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external situation. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being, no different than any one of us, who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. What that means, very simply, for all of us, regardless where you come from or what you believe in and where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen. You react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's it. This practice is simply learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different than how you respond to every other 20-minute period of your day. And so all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady and clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. It's not an easy practice, not necessarily fun. It's not an escape, as often people think it is. It is direct perception into the present moment, and the present moment is filled with conflict, chaos, difficulties, challenges. This is life. This is what we get. This practice is learning to be with life as it arises, not run from it. It is difficult to sit with life as it arises. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's just sitting, breathing, becoming aware of everything you think, everything you say, and everything you do, and how your thoughts and words and actions impact your life and the life of those around you. And that's it. That's why it is, as mentioned earlier, a practice that just repeats day in and day out. It's not about getting better at it. It's not about learning more. It's not about other cultures or countries or languages or traditions or history. It is about every single moment of your life right now, waking up to it as it is. And what do you think? What do you say? And what do you do? That's all. People complicate Buddhist practice. For me, it's very simple, very simple. Awareness of thoughts, awareness of words, awareness of actions. And that's it. And that's difficult. Once we stop trying to change, fix, control, manipulate everything and everyone outside of us, and we work on changing our mind and our reaction to the world around us, life gets simpler. And it's not about ignoring the actions around us or acting as if they're not important or they don't matter. They do. It's about engaging in the world and working to create a kinder, gentler world around us, but coming from a place of loving kindness and compassion, and not from a place of judgment and hatred and anger. And too often people on a spiritual journey use their spiritual journey to judge and critique everybody else. But everybody's on their own journey. So this practice is not about others' journey, it's about yours. So with that, I'll pause. For me, I always really just prefer to respond to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. To those joining virtually, again, welcome. Glad you're here. Thanks for showing up. Feel free as you are to say hello. On the screen, there's a chat box somewhere on your screen. If you have any questions, you can put them in there. I'll do my best to respond. So we'll use the rest of our brief time this morning for questions.
I guess my question kind of revolves a bit about grief. A couple relationships in my life have recently changed their character. And this has led to them sort of retracting from my life. And it's for good reason. Like, it's a happy occurrence. And I want to be happy for them, but I'm feeling this immense sense of loss. And it's a kind of a wise speech question, like, do I voice this to them and say, hey, I understand you're happy, and I want you to be happy. I'm very low. But yeah, that's kind of a...
Yeah, I mean, I think starting with kind of the second piece of what you said, as far as wise speech and do I voice it, I mean, I think if you look at teachings on wise speech, is it honest? Is it necessary? Is it true? Is it timely? You know, you can ask yourself those things. And my sense, in the very brief way that you kind of expressed it, is that you expressing your, pain, your sadness, your hurt from how you feel is as you always hear me say, the intention behind it is not coming, my guess is not coming from a place of manipulation or guilt or pressure, or it's just an honest, open expression of how you feel. So the second part of like, do you express it? I mean, based on what you just shared, you know, and all the knowledge I have around the situation in 10 seconds of you talking about it, why not? You know, I mean, I think that's a question you ask yourself potentially. It's like, why not share this? Now, if expressing how it's harming you or how it hurts you or how it's whatever you're sitting with, if you think that's going to create an unhealthy or dangerous or unsafe or whatever situation, then maybe there's reason to question that. But based on what you said, I don't see any, like, why wouldn't you express it? I guess is my question.
I'm trying to, like, my want right now is to make them the villain of my story.
Right.
I want to be angry. I want to be resentful. I want to be like, how, you know, I have that, like, first reaction of, how dare they do this to me?
Mm-hmm.
I come to rely on them, and now
Mhm.
they decided to leave my life, and so I mean, they're not leaving my life, but the characters change. And it's just kind of like, I don't want to, like, dissolve their happiness,
Mhm.
you know, but at the same time, I'm sitting kind of suffering inside.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that obviously depending upon the situation, but again, with what you said, I feel like share that, because maybe that's, you know, assuming it's, you know, somebody that you had a connection with in whatever way, that they may want to know that. They may not know that. They may not realize that. They may care. They may not care. I mean, we never know the outcome, as you know, of what we share. But to remain silent, I don't see any wisdom to that. To me, it makes sense to express it, and what they do with that is then obviously up to them. And I think to the first part, I mean, just some thoughts around, you know, like you said, you know, their happiness, their kind of personal situation has altered your dynamic with them. And that's the hard practice of, you know, as you say, you call it grief because it's a loss for you. And the practice of non-self, as hard as it is to say, well, there is no me that lost anything. There's simply an individual that has found happiness and joy. It's really hard to do because it comes back and hurts us. But when we see others in a place of true happiness, true joy, to me, that is that Bodhisattva practice of endless compassion and love and non-attachment. As you know, this stuff is not easy. You know, and sometimes I think when we have grief, when we have loss in various ways, there's that initial kind of guessing, maybe this is obviously from what you said, a newer thing. There's that initial kind of shock to the system. But sometimes when we lose things or people or places, that also create space for new things to show up and enter our lives, for changes in our lives. But what we hold on to is often the story, the situation, the past, the present, the future plans, whatever it might be, you know, whether it's friendship, intimate relationships, whatever. There's a story in our head we've told ourselves about this dynamic. And when we lose it, we lose that story. But sometimes losing that story allows new joy and excitement and happiness for us also, if we don't stay stuck in that story. Always easier said than done. And who knows, maybe sharing your thoughts to this person in this situation will give you more insight into what to do next. Otherwise, you're just going to lose sleep over whether or not you should say something. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. What else? There's a question here from Cinda. Hi, Jeff. With people in my life, I feel my heart race, or with whom I feel anxiety. Can meditation help me get to a place where I am, and you quote, disturbed by no one? I always say, don't quote me. Now it's in writing also. Can meditation help me get to a place where I am disturbed by no one and not feel stressed by some people? I mean, ultimately the answer is yes, you can. Is it easy? Kind of like my previous answer. No, this stuff is not easy, but everybody has their own mess. And so if there are people in your life that, trigger you to feel anxiety, to me, the question is not about, can meditation help me get to a place where I'm disturbed by no one? As I often say, the meditation is just a tiny piece of this practice. The meditation allows us to sit and abide in present moment and allow thoughts to come and go. And so the kind of deeper our training is with that practice, as people come into your lives that cause anxiety, that's also just thoughts. And so those thoughts arise and they pass, and they arise and they pass. So ultimately, yes, you can be disturbed by no one because you understand that what they're doing really has nothing to do with you. We tend to think that people do things because of us. They're just perceiving the world from their lens, and they're doing what they think they need and want to do from their own perception. And so we then turn it around and make it about us and say, that they're causing my anxiety. They're just living their life. We then drop our life, our story on top of that. And then we say, well, now I blame you for causing me anxiety. Like that's not their fault. They're living their life. I often joke and say, many people are here because, not everyone, but many people are here because they have difficult people, different family or different relationships or difficult whatever it is in their lives. And so they're here because of that person or situation. And my joke is that person or that situation is at some other meditation, some other yoga, some other therapy class because of you, right? So we are also the source of other people's anxiety, of other people's sadness, of other people's anger, of other people's depression. In the same way, we are the source of their mess. But ultimately, it's not about us being the source of it or them being the source of it. It's our reaction to the situation. It's their reaction to our situation. But I think this idea of being disturbed by no one is to recognize, to me, I mean, as I always say, everybody's on their own journey and they all have their own mess. Life passes way too quick, man. It's just boom, gone. Like we are alive, we're breathing, and we're going to die. So, I spent enough of my life disturbed by way too many people and places and things to realize like I'm done, yeah. Take care of yourself to begin to recognize that there is no self. And if there is no self, then there's no one to be disturbed by anyways. So yourself is just a story about yourself, of what you think you need and deserve and want and all those types of things. Their mess, not mine. What else? Yeah.
This idea of no self and the practice of it, I get it as a concept, and every once in a very, very rare while, in 20 years of meditation, I have the direct experience of it where it actually disappears. It's very, very brief. I also have the direct experience of impermanence, not as a concept, but it's also very, very brief, and I think it's real. It's not my imagination. Is that what Buddhism is pointing at when they talk about Satori or enlightenment? Or is it just following the path and being peaceful? It's an either or question, which is always stupid. But I know that. I'm trying to sort through my confusion.
Yeah, you asked, there's a couple things going on there. One, I love the stories of like the great Zen teachers, seeking the Satori enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, these moments of awakening. And so one might think that it's like some hardcore, dedicated, determined path and meditation and following. And all of a sudden they're just walking down the road, kicking rocks, and a rock, stone, something falls from a tree or whatever, and like hits them on the head, and they have like instant awakening, So we're so diligently working on this thing, and all of a sudden something just like, gently hits us on the head, and we're like, oh, that's it. Because all it is coming to present moment. It's just being in the present moment, beyond perception, beyond labels, beyond judgment, beyond paths, beyond journeys, beyond expectations, beyond stories, beyond constructs, beyond Buddhism, beyond Buddha, all of that shatters. It's all just one freaking story after another. And people can attach to Buddhism just as much as they can attach to any other philosophy or religion or anything else. It's just all made up nonsense. It's just present moment experience, to me, is what this is all about. And when you experience present moment, that's when the self falls away, because you're not judging it, you're not labeling it, you're not critiquing it, you're experiencing it as it is. Tathagata, one of the names of the Buddha, means suchness, life as it is. And I think this idea, in a very, where you started your question, to kind of look at non-self in like this, intellectual way versus experiential way. For me, I don't practice thinking like, am I going to abide in non-self today? What I practice is, can I recognize when my thoughts and my words and my actions are completely wrapped up in sense of self? And can I do those things less? So instead of this goal of like, when am I going to abide in non-self? As soon as you set that goal of when am I going to abide in non-self, you have guaranteed you are never going to abide in the concept of non-self. But I can recognize, when you make choices that are greedy, angry, and ignorant and selfish and all about you. So if you do 10 of those a day, do 5 of those a day. Just do those things less, Yeah. There's a question here, Beirut. I don't think that I can extend that from 10 minutes to 2 hours in this lifetime. I see. There's a quote for, hang on. Hi, Jeff. When I reflect on some challenging questions after my meditation, my mind's approach is usually different, but that lasts at most 10 minutes. Yeah. So I think the idea is not looking at, after meditation, extending, 10 minutes. Now, how do I get to 2 hours? But kind of similar to my response, try not to put time on it. Just think, am I being kind and generous and compassionate in this moment? And then the next moment arises. Am I being kind and generous and compassionate in this moment? It's just this moment to moment practice, not about like consecutive length of time that we do it for. Because even if you could do it for 2 hours, it's like, all right, well, I'm going to be kind and generous and whatever for 2 hours. And then one might say, okay, well, now I have 2 hours to do the exact opposite. So it's not about goals. It's not about timing. It's just every moment you have opportunities to come from loving kindness and compassion or greed and anger. It's really that simple. And so, yes, I know after meditation, I always say, recognize how you feel now, compare it to how you felt, other 20-minute periods of your day, recognize the difference and work on closing that gap. But again, not as a goal, just an awareness. And ultimately it comes down to, just the awareness. And then the second question is, which side I should be honest about when it affects others. Is honesty, polluted thoughts a good thing? Yeah, I think, this idea of being honest and sharing direct thoughts with people, there's a lot of kind of middle path gray area here where, the practice is to practice honesty. But as we've all experienced in our lives, there are times where honesty really may cause harm. And so we just have to question, what is our intention behind our actions? And that's really for each individual to decide. You can look at the precepts to refrain from lying. As I said earlier, is it honest? Is it necessary? Is it truthful? Do we gossip? Do we slander? Is our speech wise? What is our intention behind all of it? And, sometimes we don't know the outcome. But, I think honesty often is as much about being honest with yourself first. And I think that often leads to a lot of people not being honest is they're not honest with themselves. So then when they project, that's what they're coming from. And so, yes, there's the teaching of non-self, but Dogen, the great Zen master, would say you must get to know the self before you can get rid of the self. So as unenlightened beings, we can't just pretend to abide in this place of non-self and say, well, I don't exist. No, you exist. We exist. We are here. We are just here completely differently from how we perceive ourselves to be. And the story that we've told ourselves is not who we are. It's just a story we're stuck with. And is that story you're telling yourself even true? And for so many people, it's not. So many people have a hard time being honest with themselves. And then therefore, when they present themselves to the world, they're just presenting whatever that story is that they've told themselves about themselves. And then you look in the mirror and you're just like, who am I? What am I? I'm just a story. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about all we are is our actions. So drop the label, drop the projections, drop the identities, drop the box that we want to kind of put ourselves in. What are our actions? I think there's some quote or something about like that our actions are the ground we stand on. That's identifying who we are, not the label or judgment that we give ourselves, not the label or judgment that others give us, but what are our actions? So what else? Question? Yeah.
I know you talked about non-attachment, and I'm still super confused.
Mm.
So I was thinking maybe I have like 3 non-human, non-attachment questions.
Yeah.
They're easy, but like one is my like strong need to be near the ocean.
Mm.
One is like my favorite Birkenstocks, and the other is one of our dogs.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So like when you talk, because I hear you saying it, I'm like trying to understand that like I need more.
Yeah.
How it works.
Definitely. So, a question for those virtually didn't hear it. Just sometimes, a lot of times I repeat things because the microphone is here. So, if you're kind of in this half and louder, then I don't necessarily always repeat it. But back there, that way those virtually can hear it. Your question is around just clarity around non-attachment. And to paraphrase what you said, you have 3 kind of physical things in a way that you're really attached to. You love being by the ocean, your Birkenstocks, and your dog. Right? 3 great, very separate things that all mean different things to you in different ways, right? So first off, for those who've never heard kind of this talk or teaching on non-attachment, as I always say, non-attachment is not caring. It's not detached. It's not unattached. It's not a severing. It's not a cutting off of. Non-attachment is actually love. It is absolute love without control, without manipulation, without expectation. We love people and places and things. We have endless gratitude and appreciation for them in our lives, but we understand that they have their own journey. This will be a little bit different with your Birkenstocks, I think. But even your Birkenstocks have their own journey, right? At some point in time, right? So I don't know, I guess I'll attempt to break down those 3 things, right? But the first thing that caught me was like you said, you love the ocean. So there's nothing wrong. And again, this maybe makes me think that you may potentially be thinking that non-attachment means, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just to clarify, it sounded like you might be thinking that non-attachment means that you can't love something or you can't love the ocean. Like, love the ocean. Loving the ocean has nothing to do with attachment nor non-attachment. We have preferences. We have things we love, things we don't love, things we like, things we don't like. We are human. We are unenlightened, ignorant fools running around trying to function. And we are going to love certain things. The question is, will the ocean always be a part of your life? What if it was not? And could you function if it's not there? I mean, the ocean isn't going to disappear, right? But there may be a time in your life, short period of time, long period of time, you don't know, that maybe you don't have access to the ocean, right? Like right now, you have the ability, the physical ability to go see the ocean every day, right? For the most part. There could come a time where that won't be possible. Will that ocean and the inability to see the ocean determine your joy and happiness? And if the answer to that is yes, then okay. But understand that if our happiness is contingent solely on the ocean, then if a time in your life occurs that you can't see the ocean, then you're going to live in misery. Make sense? Non-attachment doesn't mean you have to change something. It's just an awareness that we are attached to things. And often that leads us to lack gratitude and appreciation. You know, the ocean is not going to disappear so easily. We will probably be gone before the oceans will. Your Birkenstocks, different situation, right? The old me, I would have coordinated someone to go out there and steal your Birkenstocks from the shelves, and I would have been texting somebody right now. Oh, they're in your backpack. And your backpack's probably on the ground between your legs. Where's the backpack? And you're, on the floor, right. Yeah, so I think the ocean is not the... So what's that? Oh, yes, they are. They are. That's why they're here. So, yeah, the Birkenstocks. I mean, the same thing. Like the Birkenstocks, everything comes into our life for a period of time and ceases to exist, right? If you saw somebody and those are your Birkenstocks, and don't answer this, but ponder this. Do you think you could get to a place in your life where you see someone, whether you know them and love them or not, where the greatest joy would be for them to have shoes? And if you're not there right now, if anyone's playing along, that's okay. Again, this isn't a judgment like I'm a good Buddhist or a bad Buddhist. I'm a good human or a bad human, right? I'm attached, I'm not attached. You are attached to your Birkenstocks. Could you cultivate a place of so much love and compassion and empathy for others that if you saw somebody who literally your Birkenstocks would be the greatest thing in the world to them, would you surrender them? And I've known you for a long time, and I actually think you would. You would.
But not my dog.
No, well, we haven't gotten your dog yet. Right? So the shoes you would surrender. You can love them, but at some point in time they will go. They will break. They will disappear. They will, who knows what will happen to them, right? And then, but love them, appreciate them while you have them, all the stories that are with them, all the memories, but at some point in time they're going to go. The dog, yeah, same thing, right? The dog at some point in time will go, right? I've been an animal lover my whole life. I've had cats, I've had dogs. They come into our life. We love them. We care for them. And then they pass. It's just what happens. And we cry and we're heartbroken and we miss them and we grieve and we're sad. That is life. Non-attachment doesn't mean that you're going to be okay when your dog dies. You're not. You're going to be a wreck. But it will happen. And what that means is, as I'm sure you already do, every moment of your life, every day of your life, every opportunity of your life, you let them know how much you love them and appreciate them. You know? Could you go to the ocean and let your dog run around and chew on your Birkenstocks? And then just walk away peacefully into the sunset, into the desert? No. New Year's resolution, 2026. Yeah.
Non-attachment
Is love.
It's
Yeah.
love and like the gratitude for the moment and appreciation for what you have.
Yes.
And that's non-attachment?
And knowing that it will be gone.
Okay.
And not controlling it. Again, often when non-attachment with people, it's a lot easier to say, love them without expecting them to be a certain way. When you're in a loving relationship, they are who they are. They're going to be how they are, and you're going to love them. You might want certain things to be different. You might push them a little bit and, try to do this or that a little bit, but ultimately they're on their own journey. And you're not going to try to control them, fix them, manipulate them. You're going to love them for who and how they are. All their, flaws that you see and all the this and that, right? It's a little bit different when we're talking about things like the ocean and shoes and even maybe animals, right? But love them without trying to control them, fix them, manipulate them. But yes, appreciate them, but know that they will be gone at some point in time. Usually the hardest form of attachment we have is or I shouldn't say the hardest, but one of the hardest forms of attachment we have is to people that come into our lives, relationships, loved ones, family. But they're going to be gone, just like everything you just mentioned. at some point, even if it's your ability to not go to the ocean every day. You know? So yeah, love them. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely terrifying.
Okay.
And I was always like, okay, then what do I do? But it's really like, how do I have in my mind, I know these things will not always be here, and just gratitude of all of the moments.
Yes. Yes. That's how we practice non-attachment. Yep. What else? We'll do one. Yeah.
I was just curious, what are, how do you demonstrate kind action, kind words towards yourself?
Kind action and kind words towards yourself. Yeah. And your question is, how do you do it?
How do you do, what are examples?
So how do you typically speak to yourself on a day-to-day basis?
Sometimes I might pose a question and try to answer it. Other times I shame myself or, think negatively towards myself.
Yeah. So shaming yourself and thinking negatively towards yourself, stop. Don't do those things. When you start to do those things, stop for a minute and say, why am I being so hard on myself? Learn to have, what's that?
What would I do instead?
Tell yourself something kind. Look in the mirror and say, you remember the old Saturday Night Live, Stuart Smalley? Gosh darn it, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and people like me.
Wouldn't that be yet another story?
Yes, it is. It is another story. It's all a story. It's all nonsense. None of it is true. But your question isn't, how do I stop telling myself stories? Your question is, how do I talk kindly to myself? It is all a story, but you're thinking yourself through it way too much. You're trying to analyze it. You're trying to intellectually figure it out. Ultimately, the answer is go help people every single day. Deeply rooted behind your question is, why do you think so poorly about yourself that you speak so poorly about yourself? Yes, it is a story to tell yourself, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. It is a story. So the question is, how do we get to a place where the stories that we're telling ourselves are actually kind and gentle? Well, to be able to do that, you have to learn to do what to yourself? Love yourself. You ever help people? Owen? What's that?
Occasionally.
Occasionally, when you help people, how do you feel?
Generally good.
Generally good. Do that more. The more you cultivate a general good feeling, the more you'll love yourself. And then the kinder you'll speak to yourself. Then you can ask the question, how do I stop telling myself all this kind stuff about myself? And I'll say, that's also nonsense. All of those things, seriously, are stories. You're absolutely correct. But your question, your concern, I don't want to call it problem or an issue, but your concern right now is the negativity, is the view you're having of yourself. And part of that comes from the lack of maybe purpose, passion, enjoyment, being of service, whatever. Something is lacking in your life that is making you feel that way. So find what that is to feel good about yourself, and then you'll speak kinder to yourself. And the second part, you said, what was the second part of your question? You said, speak kind to yourself.
Things, practice, visualize like thoughts, words.
Oh, actions. That was it. Yeah.
Really control too well.
Yes. The actions, it's the same thing. It's this idea of, and that's what I was always taught from day one, Buddhist temple, just be of service. Like that was it. I mean, we come into this practice for the most part, spending our lives taking care of who we think is the most important person in the world. And again, it doesn't mean we don't exist. It doesn't mean we're not important. It doesn't mean we don't have self-care, self-love, self-compassion. But so much of our day is focused on, what do I need? What do I want? What do I get? And so when we shift that and we realize, what do other people need? What do other people want? What can we give to other people? We just feel good. It's just a thing that happens. So keep doing that more and more and more. And that's kind of the deeper root to how you're speaking to yourself. Yeah, in the back, and then we'll close. Yeah.
A follow-up continuing question. I'm very, very new here.
Yeah.
But when you talk about loving kindness for yourself and like service of bring up the verse, to whom much is given, much is expected, was constantly said in my house, almost like weaponized. And so for me, like, I think as an adult, I'm learning to make sure my oxygen mask is on first.
Yeah.
Before, like, fighting my initial inclination to, like, pour out to others and making sure my oxygen mask is on first.
Yes, understood. Great point. And I almost every single day when I lead, I use the example of oxygen mask on an airplane. Put it on yourself first before you take care of others. And I'm going to sum this up because I want to close here. But I absolutely understand what you're saying. And ultimately, the practice is, yes, take care of ourselves. So our cup, if our cup is empty, we can't, help anybody else. We can't pour out to anyone else. But the practice is, are we only taking care of ourselves? And so if that was driven in your head in an unhealthy way, then that's what you're dealing with right now. But this practice of being of service, that is the heart of Buddhist teachings, is to overcome the sense of greed that we have, thinking that we are most important, which from a very Western psychological way is a challenge, because many people come into this practice not caring or loving themselves at all. I mean, people who end up at Buddhist places and meditation places aren't usually perfectly happy, peaceful people. They're dealing with tons of trauma and years of abuse and all kinds of reasons that lead us to this. And then we realize when we look at Buddhist teachings, we start to kind of break it down. And some of the things won't necessarily line up with exactly what we're practicing right now. And I don't think I did anything other than probably confuse you more, but I absolutely valid to feel that way. But I can also tell you the Bodhisattva practice within Buddhism, the teaching is to recognize that other people are equally as important as we are. And if you've spent your life not viewing yourself as equally important as others, then yes, absolutely, it's time to bring yourself up to a place where we're also taking care of ourselves. So this isn't discounting that or taking away from that. But for those of people in the room that have spent a majority of their lives not doing that, which is a lot of people as well, that's really where this teaching comes to play. Yeah. So I'm going to close on that. We'll join palms. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. All right, we have a few announcements. Our Dharma Bum host, Gene, before you all head out. Thanks, Gene.
Hello, everyone. I am today's host. My name is Jean. And I did bring my glasses. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution is every Thursday at 4:30. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above the shoe rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it, then bring it back whenever you are done with it. And please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out. And thank you for being here. And we wish you well and hope to see you all again.
Thanks, Gene.
Thank you.